today our show is going to be based upon the American Titanic, we party as we sink. And what's the correlation between now and then? Well, J.P. Morgan, the Carnegie family, Rockefellers, and how they dominated. They called them robber barons in those days. And the thing of the correlation today is we have the same thing. We call them oligarchs. Everybody talks about Russian oligarchs. Well, in America, we have our oligarchs. We have Bill Gates. Anybody knows anything about Bill Gates would know that Bill Gates is one of the largest owners of farmland. And just so all you McDonald eaters, he has a lot of Idaho potatoes. And what he does, he converts them at his plants there, and then into potatoes, into French fries. And you should see the chemical he uses on those too. But anyway, don't get mad at me. I'm just telling you, I'm just the messenger here. This can all be verified. So what's his competition? I don't think he does have any, does he? When he's selling fries and he has them processed at his facilities, they go directly to McDonald's. That's a great business. And then he has He's one of the largest landowners, 140,000 acres. And then you say to yourself, well, what does that mean? Well, so does Warren Buffett. He has one of the largest. He has a lot of acreage and land too. Well, just you always follow the rich, and that will tell you what's going to happen. So people understand when they think of something catastrophic, especially a person like Bill Gates, he knows that people have to eat. So what's the correlation of that to 29? Well, people had to eat. And that's what the real cause is in the future is going to be, where's the food coming from? So, I just want you people to have an update on things like this. Is like my daughter told me, follow the rich, and I'll tell you where a lot's going to happen. And she was right. And just, great Mark Zuckerberg. And what about him? Well, good old Mark. Mark tried M&A, got beat up, ended up in the hospital. Wow, he decided to get away from that. I don't blame him. It's amazing that nose of his never gotten broken. Well, anyway, what is he, 156 pounds, 5'6"? Yeah. So all these guys are trying to be tough guys now instead of nerds. And the nerds have won. Bezos. Look at Bezos 20 years ago. Look at him today. Look what Bezos has. Let me get my comrade here to tell me about Bezos' ship. What is that ship of his? Dominic?
Yeah, I think it's called the, it's called the Koru. It's got sails on it.
How many sails does it have, and how many feet is it?
3, and it is 400 feet long.
Yeah, 400 feet long, triple sails. Did you know that when people look now in a catastrophic event, they call it bug out? And let's give you an example. That's the perfect vessel you want. That means he doesn't have to worry about any kind of energy or like oil or gas to run his clipper ship. And he can sail to areas and be safe. Now, see, why would else want on a clipper ship? Most of them, like Zuckerberg, he just buys them with the engines and stuff, are oligarchs, because I guess you can buy them on sale too now from the ones that we've taken from the Russian oligarchs. When Ukrainian had oligarchs, had them too. But let's just get back to with our subject here in America. Zuckerberg is building a shelter, $275 million, and it's on the island of Kauai. Oh, this is supposed to be a secret, but it got out. And he has 30-foot, I guess, what do they call those doors that he has on it? Blast doors for nuclear. Interesting, isn't it? He can call his buddy over in the island of Lanai, and that would be Larry Ellison. He owns the whole island, so that makes it really convenient. But just, the people too who want out, and there's like in Marin County here, there's one family that used to be, I guess, I don't know if I should say their name, but they have a facility in San Anselmo, a bug out location. So the rich people are getting ready. What do they know? They're not telling us. Just remember out there, you people, you think you might be a big deal, but you're just a peasant. Just remember, you're a peasant. And if you believe anything else, dreaming's free. So let's just get back to what's going on, the correlations now between the sinking of the Titanic and this. I think I get off and go off in these ganders and things, but people first of all don't understand how everybody wants to take up space in your brain. And what they do is, it's amazing how many people you can tell them something and you tell them enough, and marketing it's 32 times and they'll believe it. It's really amazing how someone would believe something 32. You could tell lies all day long. And I want to say, if you want to, I rank the most corrupt industries in America where you can get away with crime and become billionaires. 1 is politicians, 2 is bankers, and 3 is the drug industry. And I'm talking about legalized drugs. I mean, we'll be going over that in these shows too, but that's why we're going to focus today. I would really want to bring Zuckerberg and Bezos and, and then Peter Thiel. He's so sneaky, you never know what he's doing. Peter's probably monitoring my show right now. Tell us a little about Peter's company, Dominic.
He's the CEO of PayPal.
But the pump company he has now that does all the work for the CIA and tracks Americans, so you feel safer.
Palantir.
Palantir isn't it amazing? Good old Palantir. Go on the stock. It sells at about $29. Make 12 cents a share. At least they make money. And then you're talking about Wall Street now. Palantir, Peter Thiel. Peter Thiel said he loves companies that don't have competition. What did he do before this? Yeah, he was at Google. What do they have? They don't have competition at Google. So he's right. Now he has Palantir, and who's his big clients? Well, the government. And what do? Collect your information. Just like Larry Ellison was an Oracle after after the 9/11. They want a database, collect data. You need data. Well, now they're going to know everything you do. I thought we were supposed to go overseas for our enemy, but now we always look within. So, again, there's no sponsors on the show or anyone paying. I'm just the messenger telling you what's happening, and you can close your eyes, or you can believe they're, taking data and they're not using it in America against other people, because this is supposed to stop like shootings and things like this, and they got all this data and they can tell when a guy's whacked. Yeah, they did a really good job, didn't they, recently with Donald Trump and Secret Service. And I said to my people I know, I saw that one Secret Service agent hiding behind another Secret Service agent. Then I saw 2 in front, and I saw someone was just panicking, one of the Secret Service agents. But you know what? It just shows you people, when you really do analysis of this is really what's showing you what government is and how inadequate they are. And that there is nobody, I believe, in government anymore that feels that they have accountability to anybody, and there's no oversight. And that's so obvious. I mean, what happened? This guy was online. What was his background? Oh, that's right. He played video games all the time. And I used to see what it's done to our society, the video games. But we did produce one on Wall Street. And let me get my buddy Dominic here. Dominic's a young pup, too. It's amazing because he's way ahead of the rest of the people who are young, having an understanding what's happening in America. And we have a little thing about little kitty here. And people go, whoa, what's little kitty? Little kitty. Well, little kitty is, do we have a picture of him now?
Yeah, Roaring Kitty.
Oh, excuse me, yeah. Roaring Kitty. I can't. Boy, he spent too much time on video games.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then what did it say, 154 million that he was betting on a stock? Again, we used to call this, when I was in the business, stock manipulation. And you're going to say, what am I qualified to talk about this? Well, I had to learn everything from the bottoms up, not top down. So I was on the stock exchange, Pacific Coast, went back office for a small regional firm, got licensed there. And then I worked there for a little bit, and then I got picked up by Drexel Burnham, and that's where everything really moved forward. Most of you probably never heard of Drexel if you're young, but they were the major player of corruption back in those days, what they call the junk bond industry with Mike Milken. And it was amazing. I had a lot of people approaching us because we didn't share deals on Wall Street, so everyone hated us, especially Goldman Sachs. I don't even know if people know Merrill Lynch's anymore, but there's quite a few firms. So it was good for me because if you want to do a Drexel deal, you came to me. And then after that, Drexel closed and Mike Milken went for jail, came out being worth $1.5 billion. This is 1980s money. You got to admit, that's a pretty good deal. Does crime pay? Well, he used to brag he'd play tennis every day at Pleasanton. And he was, I think, 3 years. This gives me a little, ability to talk about this subject. And I'll give you another example is when I took and they recruited me for Bear Stearns. Now, if Bear Stearns was one of the problems in 2008, and I was there way before the trouble and gone, but they flew me out and I met Ace Greenberg. And then, wow, who was Ace Greenberg's? He had a tutor for his kids. You know who that was? Epstein. Wow. Small world, isn't it? Never met Epstein because I didn't need tutoring. I was already too far gone. But isn't that amazing? And then, what is it, Trump and him and all the people? I'd sure like to know more about Epstein and how he really died. But again, that's another subject for another time. So anyway, getting back to this and getting back to what is his name, Kitty? What's his Kitty?
Roaring Kitty.
Yeah, Roaring Kitty. Yeah, go look at him. That just shows you. And then basically that's called stock manipulation, but that's done constantly all the time on Wall Street. So I want to explain a little how Wall Street works from the beginning here because of my back office. And people have a really good understanding of how things work. First of all, when I was in the business, there was basically stocks, and they started option trading. Options were like legalized gambling. You could buy an option and they basically an expiration date. And if the option, let's use $10, and if it went to 15, you could either turn it into the stock or sell it for a profit of $5. You could do the same thing with a put, and a put gave you the right to sell the stock. Similar that if you bought it at let's say a put does the exact opposite of going long. So let's use $20. If it went from 20 to 10, that means in the reflection of the option, you could sell the option at a profit. Now, everybody's hearing the word shorting. And the word shorting means you're selling a stock you do not own. When you borrow that stock, you have to go borrow it from another firm or your own firm, and that person has to have it on margin. Now, we'll give you examples later on how you can go long and short too. And when you go short, you're on margin. On your long, you're on margin. And that means you can go 50% margin. So if you buy a stock for $100, you could buy it for 50 and be on 50% margin. When you're doing that, if someone wants to short it, that means they can short the stock. Now, if they can't borrow the stock, they can't short the stock. They call it naked shorting. If you're a market maker, then you can short the stock because you need to make markets. So when you hear things like Citadel Capital now, Citadel Capital, they're always pounding their chest out telling you how great they are. Well, they handle the trades for Fidelity and Schwab as a broker-dealer. They also have their hedge funds. My day, they call it maybe a conflict of interest, maybe. But Citadel got fined. How much they got fined? $7 million for not marking their positions on short, or they were short, meaning they're shorting it, or they're acting as a broker dealer. So Citadel set themselves up perfectly for the future because they almost got wiped out in 2008 before the great Federal Reserve saved them. Now, again, let's go back. Remember the Federal Reserve, what I told you. The Federal Reserve is not part of the exchanges. The Federal Reserve is owned by the banks. The great Powell was there, who was appointed by Trump. And now I don't know what Trump's going to do because it looks like he'll be elected. You know, the great Donald Trump, too. We're going to talk about his stock going public recently. And we're going to talk a little about how the stocks, most of them do not even make a profit. 40% are zombie companies in the Russell 2000. But they manipulate everything, Wall Street. Now, how do you manipulate? You'd have to control what the people see. So let's go to Market Watch, News Corp, Dow Jones. You go, wow, you got Market Watch always putting out this real pro news, and you got News Corp, and you got Dow Jones. They say their most trusted name in finance. Wait, who owns News Corp? Oh, that's right. Murdoch family owns it. Wow, isn't that amazing? And what does it do? Do you think they're going to come out anything negative like on those stocks with anything like saying, wow, the market's this or that? Because don't remember, most of their advertisers are these companies. Just like the great Kramer. Too, my show is for entertainment purposes. You're going to understand that now, too. The great Kramer gets $5 million a year, with his goatee. He's a cheerleader. Some people might say he's the ugliest cheerleader you've ever seen, but that's what he is. He's a cheerleader with his little goatee, and he gets up there like yelling all the time and this and that. But he gets $5 million a year. Now, if somebody offered me $5 million a year, I'll be a cheerleader, but I'm still not going to wear a skirt. So anyway, getting back to it, is that what happens now with so few media companies, then everybody controls what you hear. So this is really alarming, especially in the stock market. And one of the things everybody's talking about now is called BlackRock. That's what everybody's talking about, BlackRock. Wow, and people go, well, what's BlackRock? What are they? Well, we're going to show you something I've heard no one else ever mention. So this is one part of the show you don't want to miss. Probably a lot of other parts you would, but not this part. Because the only way, I guess my buddy Albert Einstein told me, is they constantly have to learn in life. And that's what I try to do. And, Albert and I had something in common. We both have a Morton toe. So you can look up that. Oh, by the way, under Greek mythology, it means a sign of genius. Again, what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to make things like for the peasants out there like me would want to hear and understand. So I've tried to explain to you what short and long means, and now I'm going to tell you a little about what's called passive investing. And this is where you hear the word BlackRock with Larry Fink. Now, you got to think about Larry Fink growing up and his background. Poor guy. Can you imagine him being named Fink? Someone goes, hey, you Fink, and things like that. I wouldn't want to have a name Fink, Would you? Anyway, would you want to name Fink? No, he wouldn't want to name Fink either. So anyway, maybe he is a Fink. But anyway, to make a long thing about BlackRock, you've heard recently about how the BlackRock commercial had the person that tried to assassinate Trump was in a BlackRock commercial. We have information we can show you that BlackRock was actually shorting again. Now, I'm using the word shorting so you have an understanding. Selling stock they didn't own on Trump's stock. It is called, the symbol is TG, what is it, TG?
It's DJT.
Oh,
WW.
Yeah, one more time.
DJT, WW, and just DJT.
Yeah. So anyway, this is Trump's latest stock. That means BlackRock wanted it to go down because that's how they're going to make the money and then cover it by buying it back. That's how you cover short. You have to buy it back, or you can let it go to zero, and then you won't even have to declare it because you never bought it back. So anyway, the great Donald Trump stock went public, which I'm still confused. I believe it has a market capitalization of how much is the market cap on it? It should be under, and then go on like 6.2 billion.
It is 7.04 billion.
$7.04 billion of market cap. That means if you take the shares outstanding times the price of the stock, that's what it equals, 7.1 billion. Wow, they only lost 53 million shares or $53 million last year. What did they lose per share? Wow, isn't that interesting? How do you bring a company public with this kind of financials? Oh, that's right. I forgot. The Phi Beta Kappa is at Harvard, Yale, and all the Cornell and all the Ivy League schools. That's what their subjects they have is called OPM, other people's money. And that's their whole objective, is to get it out of your hands and put in theirs. I mean, can you believe that? Trump's stock, is this how they're going to pay him back now? Because he's going to be maybe part of the deep state? I don't know. I'm just giving you the information. You do whatever you want with it. But getting back to BlackRock, BlackRock is tied to ESG. They are the ones that started ESG. Now, if you go and look, what that means is BlackRock, where they have power is, when I was telling you earlier, there used to be shareholders' rights. But when you go passive investing, like you do now these days, most people, they buy what's called ETFs. They buy mutual funds. They buy indexing, options. No one buys actual stocks. And this is how they can get controls of the companies. So when you buy through one of their funds, like BlackRock, and just remember, a lot of government funds and a lot of people are on these funds, including Vanguard and State Street. And you heard Kennedy mention that. The first politician I've heard even mention this. They're owned all by the same people. Vanguard is owned by BlackRock. Who are the major shoulders? State Street? All BlackRock. So you can look, Vanguard's public and so is BlackRock, and they own each other. That's great. So that means what they do and all the money you're funneling through all their funds, even if you disagree with ESG. And what is ESG? That's Dominic's going to explain that to you.
It's environmental, social, and governance.
Yes, isn't that great? And that's what they did, and that's what Budweiser had in their commercial with